Kyle, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having us on. We're really excited to talk about the future of reopening of our schools.
Me too, and I think it's on everybody's mind. And I don't think that I'm alone in saying that I'm kind of worried about kids going back to school.
I know, it's on all parents' mind right now, all parents and families.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you have these kids going back to what is by definition a congregate place. Yeah. Are we ready for students to head back? It's only going to be a few days from now.
I will tell you the one great thing that is very unique about New York State and the guidance that we have from both the Department of Health and the State Education Department is that each district's plan is very tailored to their own needs. So we have 760 some school districts across New York State. Not one plan is the same. Some school districts we know are starting back remote for a few weeks. Some are starting back remote for a few months, which creates some issues with parents having to go back to work and childcare and remote learning. But we'll talk about that in a minute. And then we have some districts like mine, for instance, we're going back Monday through Friday like normal. So it's going to be very interesting. Lots of conversations, I think, around the dining room table right now amongst educators and families and what this is going to look like.
So you were on the Governor's Advisory Council for Reimagining Education,
Yes.
which means that you helped develop the reopening guidelines. Are we doing this right? I think that's the question on everybody's mind. It's going to vary by district, obviously, but we have this overarching theme of wearing face coverings and social distancing and protecting students and teachers. Is there, I guess the question is, are we doing this right? Is there any way to improve it going forward?
I guess there's no easy answer.
Yeah.
I think the best answer we have is that I fully believe with all of my soul, 100%, that each and every school district is going to do the best that they can to keep both their educators and children safe. There are negatives. We saw, when we had to go remote immediately, we saw huge equity gaps. We saw huge access gaps. We saw a rise of mental health issues among students and both faculty and ourselves as community members, as we are all kind of sequestered in our homes. It's time to go back to school. Kids are ready, kids are excited. I can tell you my son is very excited, and they are way more adaptable than us. I complain if I wear a mask for 5 minutes. Jackson can be in a mask for 2 hours with his friends and it doesn't bother him. I do think there's going to be continuing concerns and conversations about how we can increase safety and security, how we can increase health protections for both faculty and staff and educators that are in school buildings and both students. That's going to be ongoing.
You mentioned equity gaps, and I think that's something that some districts are really struggling with because we have some districts that are funded by property taxes. We have other districts that are primarily funded through state funding. So some schools just don't have a lot of money. How do you make sure that all schools, and I know this isn't a question just for you, obviously.
I know, it's a big issue.
Yeah, how do you make sure that all schools can do this?
And we're facing this right now with, state debt that we have, and we were hoping for more federal stimulus money for schools. I know we are still advocating in Washington with congressional delegation on really to up those types of dollars. We need money for PPE and barriers and distancing and even more staff as school districts kind of reduce density in classrooms, spread kids out. That means they need more adults in the building. A continuing ongoing conversation.
Are there any unanswered questions that you think, and I know that this isn't really a state responsibility, but as we're going in, it's just a few days away. Are there anything that is unresolved?
I think you're seeing many school districts, delay a week or so as they have more professional development days. I think many school districts are still having conversations about things like contact tracing and testing. If we have a child, for instance, in kindergarten that has symptoms, what does that mean? If we have a child in second grade that actually has COVID, what does that mean? So I think that was a relatively recent development in the past few weeks where the school districts that you need to have real concrete contact tracing plans, real concrete testing plans. That doesn't mean school districts have to test children, on the contrary, but school districts have to know where they're going to send children. We're having still conversations with county departments of health on is there a way we can expedite children and faculty that are being tested. In some areas of the state we still have 7 to 14 days. Some people are waiting for test results. Here I recently was COVID tested for a medical exam, and I had my test results back in 2 days. So is there kind of a way we can make that across the state norm? Can we get 12 hours results back for students? Can we get 24-hour results back for students? Those are the conversations I think that are still happening and will continue probably right up until we open school and onward.
What are you hearing from parents on that? Do they want to see their kids tested in going back to school, or is that kind of a rolling conversation that's happening everywhere?
Yeah, I think there's a split amongst parents and families. The one most important thing is that no family decision is wrong. Parents are making the decision whether they're going to send their child remote, whether they're going to send their child in person. That decision is unique to that family, and that decision must be supported no matter what they decide. There's conversations now about what happens, for instance, if a child who is in kindergarten has a fever. They may have an ear infection. Should we immediately send them to have COVID testing, or should they go to the pediatrician to see if it's an ear infection? So those are the type of conversations I think parents really want more information on, and I know us, the governor's office, our education partners and SED are still working on those issues.
When you're talking about those kids in kindergarten, I'm thinking about these 6, 7-year-olds that are being sent to school.
Yeah.
And as the PTA, what do you see as enforcement for these types of things?
I know.
It's these kids, they might not understand why they have to wear a mask.
I know.
How do we make sure that they're doing it?
I will tell you that children are resilient, and they've been wearing masks now when they go out with their parents for months. So they're used to it. The one thing that I can guarantee is that every kindergarten teacher, right through high school physics teacher, is going to make the best experience they can for those students. That's what they're there for. That's why they went into education. They went into education to make a difference. They're going to continue to make a difference. Are our school buildings going to look different? Yes, and that's okay right now, because the health and safety of our kids is paramount and is critical. But I think we're going to be okay.
And we will be watching. Kyle Belakapitsky from the State PTA, thanks so much.
Thanks so much for having us on.